Long ago, around 60 million years in the past, an ancient and powerful alien race known as the Chimera arrived on Earth. They weren't just explorers, they were conquerors. Having already visited and colonized other planets across the stars, Earth was just another stop in their grand expansion. But this time, their time here wasn't peaceful. A brutal war erupted between the Chimera and another mysterious alien race, one we still know nothing about. The conflict was so intense that it scarred the Earth itself. In fact, scientists believe that the massive Chicxulub crater that long thought to be caused by a meteor was actually a remnant of this ancient war. Faced with annihilation and a planet rendered nearly uninhabitable, Chimera fled Earth. They buried their secrets, their technology, and their presence deep beneath the surface, disappearing for eons. And so, the Chimera vanished. Until mankind stumbled upon their legacy. Over 60 million years passed, humanity rose, thrived, and built civilizations across the globe, completely unaware of the ancient war that once raged beneath their feet. In 1908, a meteor crashed into the icy wilderness of Siberia, unleashing a deadly virus that marked the return of the Chimera. This was no accident. The meteor carried with it a biological agent, a terrifying weapon meant to reshape the Earth for their kind. It was clear this invasion had been planned long ago, perhaps even since the day the Chimera was driven from the planet. There was something strange about it all. Why would a race so advanced return with such a crude method, sending viruses and meteors instead of descending in ships? Many believed this was an act of desperation. The once mighty Chimera, possibly on the brink of extinction, had gambled everything on this final plan. Their war wasn't over, it had just been put on pause, and now it was starting again, with humanity caught in the middle. When the Chimera returned to Earth, they wasted no time. From the moment their virus-laden meteors struck at Siberia, the infection spread like a wildfire. Entire regions of Russia were wiped out. Every living organism either killed or converted. By 1927, the Russian authorities could no longer deny the threat. The Chimera was no longer a myth, an unstoppable force rising from the shadows. The Russian military tried to resist, but they were unprepared for what they had faced. Thousands of soldiers fell in battle, only to rise again, transformed as a Chimera by a strain known as the crawler virus. It didn't just kill, it consumed, rewrote, and repurposed the human body into something alien. In a desperate attempt to fight back, the Russian government turned to extreme measures. Secret laboratories began unethical experiments, trying to synthesize a cure. Dr. Fyodor Malikov, a brilliant yet controversial scientist, succeeded in creating a vaccine using DNA from the pure Chimera themselves. It was rushed into mass production and administered to the remaining Russian troops. But it was a tragic miscalculation. Instead of salvation, the vaccine created monsters. The Cloven. These mutated soldiers became feral, cannibalistic beings, hostile to both human and Chimera alike. Neither ally nor enemy, the Cloven were a terrifying reminder of how desperate humanity had become. By the late 1930s, Russia had fallen. Chimera now controlled the entire region, and with their victory came excavation. All across the frozen landscape, Chimera towers, ancient, buried relics from their past, were being unearthed once again. While Russia burned in silence, the rest of the world remained unaware. The Iron Curtain of Russian isolationism kept the truth hidden. There were no international broadcasts, no warnings, just a creeping silence from the east. Soon, rumors began to leak. Entire Russian cities were found abandoned, swallowed by unnatural cold. Western intelligence took notice, but they misunderstood the signs. They believed Russia had simply suffered a military experiment gone wrong, never imagining that the true cause was alien. But not everyone was in the dark. The United States had already uncovered ancient Chimeran artifacts buried across its own soil. Evidence that the Chimera had once walked the earth long before mankind's rise. Realizing the threat was not just Russian, but extraterrestrial, the US government acted quickly and quietly. In secret, they formed the Special Research Projects Administration, the SRPA, the organization dedicated to understanding and combating the growing Chimeran menace. Throughout the 1940s, a tense silence loomed over Eastern Europe. Hidden behind the Red Curtain, the Chimera were not idle, they were patient. Deep underground, they amassed an unstoppable army, building strength and preparing for a new war. That moment came in December 1949. Without warning, the Chimera broke through into continental Europe, igniting what would be known as the Chimeran War. Country after country fell in mere weeks. Armies collapsed, borders vanished. Entire cities were swallowed by ice as the Chimera continued manipulating the environment, forcing the climate into an unnatural sub-zero temperatures. Europe became a frozen graveyard. By October 1950, only one nation remained, the United Kingdom. But the Chimera had planned for this. Instead of a frontal assault, they dug under the English Channel, emerging beneath the British defenses and overwhelming them from below. London fell. Hope dwindled. Yet in the darkest hour, the United States intervened. In July 1951, American forces joined the British in a last-stand effort, the Battle of London. Against all odds, they succeeded in destroying the Chimeran tower network across the United Kingdom. With that, something extraordinary happened. The Chimeran forces collapsed. It was the first major defeat the invaders had suffered. The victory uncovered a crucial truth. Chimera were hive-minded, connected through a biological command structure reliant on towering structures and powerful beings known as angels. Without them, Chimera were vulnerable. Armed with this knowledge, humanity pushed forward. What followed was Operation Overstrike, a multi-international campaign to reclaim Western Europe, city by city, nation by nation. Humanity fought back, and for the first time in decades, the tide began to turn. Though humanity had struck its first blow, the Chimera were far from defeated. They adapted quickly and ruthlessly. Learning from their failures in the UK, they began engineering stronger, more resilient strains, shedding weaknesses that had been exposed in earlier battles. The angels, once vital to their hive structure, were abandoned. In their place, a new and far more dangerous leader emerged. His name was Daedalus. Once a man, Jordan Shepard, a soldier caught in the crossfire of a secret experiment known as Project Abraham. He had been twisted by Chimeran science into something else, something inhuman. Now, as Daedalus, he led the Chimera with terrifying intelligence and purpose. Under his command, the invasion accelerated. Within just 2 years, Chimeran forces surged into Canada, Africa, and South America, crushing resistance with brutal efficiency. Their technology grew more advanced, their numbers swelled, and across the globe, dormant tower networks, buried relics from a forgotten age were being unearthed and prepared for activation. All eyes turned to the United States. America still stood, but it was the final prize. Chimera's ultimate goal was to link the global tower network, creating a planetary web that would alter Earth forever, remaking it in their image. The towers in America were the last pieces of the puzzle, and Daedalus would stop at nothing to reach them. In the spring of 1953, the end came swiftly. On May 15th, the Chimera launched their final, full-scale assault on the United States. A colossal fleet of alien airships descended from the skies, bringing fire and devastation. In just over a month, the mighty US military was shattered, cities reduced to ruins, and American heartland overrun. Chimera Tower Network, long dormant, was now fully activated. Massive amounts of energy pulsed across the planet, all converging towards a single point, the ancient Chicxulub crater in Mexico, the very scar from the Chimera's first war on Earth. Hovering above it was the Chimera's flagship, terrifying centerpiece of their invasion fleet, now drawing power directly from the Earth itself. The SRPA, humanity's last hope, hatched a desperate plan: deploy a fission bomb to destroy the fleet and take Daedalus out with it. The operation went forward, and the bomb was detonated, but it backfired. Instead of destroying the Chimera, the blast triggered a catastrophic power surge in the global tower network. The surge channeled into the massive tower in New York City, activating a wormhole, a bridge through space and time, to the homeworld of the Chimera.
Hale? What happened? What the hell is that?
Can you hear them? They are calling to us. It's beautiful.
Stay back.
This is just the beginning.
By 1957, Earth was no longer ours. The Chimera had won. In less than a decade, they had crushed the resistance, shattered continents, and seized control of the entire planet. Over 90% of humanity was either dead or converted, and the need to capture and transfer humans' hosts had ceased, whether due to the near extinction of mankind or the spread of the Hale vaccine, which rendered the virus ineffective. The Chimera moved on to their next phase, extermination. No longer subtle or strategic, the Chimera launched a full-scale campaign to wipe out the final remnants of the human race. Their goal was no longer conquest, it was transformation. Using their massive tower network and devastating new orbital superweapons called terraformers, they began reshaping Earth into a world of ice and death, a planet engineered to support them, not us. The skies dimmed, the oceans froze, the Earth we knew was dying and being reborn into a new homeworld for the ancient invaders. And then, the true purpose of the New York City Tower was revealed. The wormhole that opened during the failed fission bomb strike was not just a portal, it was a gateway. Now fully active, it began transporting legions of pure Chimera from their long-forgotten homeworld, flooding the Earth into numbers beyond counting. The war for survival was over. Now was the struggle for what little remained. The world was frozen, lifeless, and ruled by the Chimera. Humanity stood on the brink of extinction, the last embers of resistance flickering in the shadows of a dying planet. But then came a spark. Joseph Capelli, a former sentinel and survivor of the war, launched a desperate and suicidal assault on the heart of the invasion. The towering monolith in New York City, the gateway to the Chimera homeworld. His plan was unthinkable: to crash a terraformer, one of the Chimera's own orbital superweapons, directly into the tower, and he succeeded. The impact obliterated the tower, and with it, sealed the wormhole forever. The terraforming process halted, and the unnatural cold that had gripped the planet began to recede. For the first time in years, the Earth was able to breathe again. Across the globe, resistance groups emerged from hiding to find the Chimera disorientated and leaderless. The destruction of the wormhole, the hive-mind connection that had unified the Chimera through the pure strain, was severed. One by one, human survivors rose up, striking at the broken Chimeran forces, reclaiming lost cities, and igniting a global push for liberation. It wasn't swift, it wasn't easy, but over time, the Chimera was hunted down and destroyed. Earth, scarred and battered, was slowly reclaimed. Humanity, wounded but unbroken, endured. The war was over through the cost, and though the cost was immeasurable, the Earth belonged to humans once more.